Hey guys, so come with me down this rabbit hole. So this is my trusty Stihl FS45C string trimmer, and I use those plastic brush blades on this thing. But anyways, this has been a really good trimmer for me. And then last season I was using it and I went to pull it and the cord broke. So I was like, you know, it was late enough in the season I didn't bother doing anything with it. And then I wanted to use it more recently, and I was like, oh, that's right, I forgot to fix the cord on that. So I took off the recoil assembly right here, okay, and this has got an interesting recoil assembly. It's got like a double spring mechanism in there that allows you to almost like pull it really easily, and it stores energy in a torsion spring that then will release its energy when it gets to a certain point and help kick over the thing to start it. So it's supposed to be a really easy start mechanism. And apparently they made two versions of this. They made the same trimmer with a regular pull start on it too, from what I was looking, from what I could gather when I looked online for parts. So first I figured, okay, there's no reason why I can't just get a new cord for this, right? So I go to Home Depot and I buy the smallest paracord that they sell, which is this here, which is 1/8 inch, because I had read online and thought that this uses 4mm cord, and when I converted 4mm to decimal, you know, 1/8 inch is 0.125, and 4mm isn't that much smaller than 0.125 or 125 thousandths. So I thought I'd be okay. Nope, no go. This won't even fit through that hole right there. And actually, it might fit through that hole. I don't think it'll fit through somewhere else where I gotta snake it through. Anyways, this was a non-starter. So this, luckily, this only cost me $3.50 for this, and I'll be able to use it somewhere else. It's quite possible that this uses 3.2mm rope in this thing. And then I noticed that there was a plastic nub right here that's damaged on this piece that's supposed to move back and forth. It's supposed to be underneath this clip, and it was, but it popped out and got damaged. Now I don't know whether or not I did that with my cheesy rope attempts or what. So I was poking around online and started to notice that they make aftermarket cheap Chinese recoil assemblies for these Stihl trimmers. So I plugged in my model number, and lo and behold, I found this little slice of heaven. All right, so you might not be able to see that, but this is called the Haishine, or Haishine. I don't know how you pronounce that. Haishine. Haishine Recoil Pull Starter Assembly for Stihl FS38, FS45, FS46, FS55, FC55, HL45, and KM55. This was $18 with free prime shipping, and I could get it in 2 or 3 days. So I just said, you know what, I'm going to try. So I read comments on a lot of the aftermarket ones. Some of them, people complained about, they said the description was wrong and it won't fit their trimmer. Other people said they had to do slight modifications to the case, cutting or grinding plastic in order to get it to fit correctly. So I could see that. I could see where, like, some people, if it just doesn't fit perfectly, they're just going to slam it and say, ah, it's not the right one. So if we look at this, you see how that's really deep? I could see there's a problem right away, right? The question is, will this just go right on? Alright, so this doesn't look like this is going to work. The reason why this is so deep is because there's a whole nother section to this, which is this, what gives it this 2-stage easy pull mechanism, right? So on this one, you have to have this engage this part on the back of the crankshaft, right? Which this isn't made to engage. This is made to engage this. So what I want to see if I can do is I want to see if I can take this cord and this mechanism right here out of this Chinese housing, put it down in there to replace that mess in this housing. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take this little clip off, okay, which is just going to pop off that way. But before I do, I want to make note of exactly how this clip is installed. As far as you'll notice that the little loop is pointed that way, and that little plastic nub right there, that little plastic part that sticks out, is sitting right in the crook of the arm of that right there. So that when that turns, it goes out like that. Alright, so I'm just going to pop this clip off real carefully. This little piece slides right out. I'm going to take it out before it falls out. Alright, now there's a washer. Now this is the tricky part. I think this spring is going to pop off. Alright, so I am going to have to cut this knot. Let that come out a little bit, hold it with my finger. That gives me enough room to get my cutters in here, cut this knot. Okay. Take that handle off. Carefully, gonna let this go in and wind all the way in so that there's no tension on it. And I kind of want to count how far it goes. So that's about where the cord just comes through the hole right there. Alright, and I got a little black mark right there. Just happens to be dirt pointing at this right here. Pointing at kind of like that hole, right? And let's see how far that goes. So that spring tension is enough to let that go 90 degrees, 180 degrees. Alright, that's like 270 degrees. Alright, so now there's no tension on that. So now I should be able to lift this right up and off, but I'm going to leave that for the moment. I'm going to take this one apart, get this one ready to go. Probably should wear safety glasses for a job like this. Oh, look at that. That spring is broken. Well, that's disconcerting because I could see how that hooks on there, and my question is going to be, how the heck are you supposed to get that to go on there? Alright. So now I'm a little scared of what's going to happen when I go to take this out. I really don't want that spring blowing up in my face. Something released a little bit. Oh, there we go. Okay. Let's have a quick recap, shall we? In the process of trying to put the new rope on, I ended up taking this apart and having the recoil spring come out. But it turns out the recoil spring, I believe I had determined the recoil spring had broken anyways. So that was, well, right, you know, what's done is done. I go on Amazon and I order this aftermarket replacement, okay? And I ended up having this come in only to realize that this is a straight recoil assembly, which apparently maybe some of the models that, including my model, may have come with at some point. But mine has this easy start mechanism, which if you look at the side here, you see how it's like twice as deep on the original one, and that's because there is a second recoil assembly within the unit. So there's a recoil assembly that drives a recoil assembly that drives the crankshaft. So what happens is as you pull it, it's really easy to pull because it starts to spool up and store energy in that first recoil, which then starts to release its energy into the second recoil. And through the magic of physics, you get really easy starts. And I kind of like that feature. So I was like, oh, well, okay, so I can't use this assembly. So, smart guy that I think I am, I figure, I'll just take this apart and take the recoil spring out of this brand new unit and put it in my unit. All right? Well, the problem with that is getting the recoil unit down inside here. This is it's harder on these than it is on these because this is deeper. And after fighting with it, trying several different things that are all fails, I finally gave up because I went online and I looked and I noticed that you can buy just a recoil spring, replacement recoil spring on its own. And what I found was that all of the photographs showed something like this. So what we have here is a recoil spring assembly that at the factory they band with this high strength plastic banding, okay? And the reason why they do that is because they know what a bear it is to get this in. So in theory, you should be able to get this in, push this into position. As the band comes off, it will already be down in position and will, hopefully stay retained. So you can buy just this by itself, but then I found a seller, I think on eBay, that for like barely any more money than what it costs just for this, would also include a new one of these and the other little parts that come with it, a new clip and a new rope. And I figured, well, you know what, I'll just have extra ones of those, right? So not going to worry about it. Here's my original one. No, actually, this is the one from the first replacement recoil assembly. Oh, so interesting. This is the original one that goes in here, and you can see it spins freely. And here's the replacement one that just came in, and it binds. It actually is rubbing on this part of the plastic right here. Yet it actually fits okay in the aftermarket one. And this is the one that originally came out of this aftermarket one. And again, it fits fine, but it rubs in here. So these are both slightly larger diameters than the one that I took out of here. So it looks like I am going to have to reuse this whether I want to or not. All right. So the $1 million question is, am I going to be able to get this? All right, so this has to go like this because this hook goes like that and it goes down into that slot right there. So this has to go down in here like so. And now I've got to, by some sheer stroke of manual dexterity and luck, get this to go down inside here. So if I slide this, if I push down on this, it should slip out of that plastic band and go into right where I want it to go. Okay, the band has released and it is now attempting to uncoil, which that's okay as long as it doesn't come out of. What I'm trying to do now is, without taking my fingers completely off of it and letting it just spring loose, I'm trying to get this plastic band up out of the way so I can see what's going on here. Well, this looks good. Oh. And that, ladies and gentlemen, done in a matter of minutes with relative ease, is what I had been trying to do for quite a while now without success. So the next challenge is to reinsert this part. So there's a slot right here that has to correspond with where that little loop is on the end, right? So this wall right here has to be on the inside of the coil. Well, because of the coil spring being wound, it's pushed up against there. So what I need is, I need this to be pushed away like that, just far enough, the light's getting down in there or not, to leave that space. Well, the problem is I can't hold that over in that position because then my fingers are in the way of getting this in.
So I need something to hold that over in that position while I lower this in strategically. Well, it just so happens I noticed that there is a hole. There's a hole right there. That's like in the perfect location to put a pin to hold this out like that so that I could get this other part in. But it's a blind hole. So my theory is that you're supposed to take this plastic piece off. Alright, so rather than try and take this plastic thing off because I think it's glued on, I took a drill bit and using the molded hole on this side as a guide, just drilled a hole right through. And now I've inserted a screw from this side, and that screw is now holding this out, this spring out away. So there is now a space, but this space right here has to exist in order for this wall on this to go down in there. Yep, that worked perfectly. Just push that down in there and then pop the screw out, and now that's in there. If I actually start to turn this counterclockwise, it will start actually winding that spring. But before I do that, I want to install the clip on this side. You'll also notice I haven't fed my rope through the hole yet. I've actually got it just kind of temporarily in this notch over here, and the reason why is because I want to preload this spring, I think 1 revolution before I have the rope coming through the hole there. I noticed this little part right here that plastic pin is bent. So since I have a new one, I'm going to install the new one. Although that one's a lot shorter. Interesting. Now I know this metal washer goes on first, and now this clip has to go on, but I want to just check my notes, make sure that I put this on correctly, because obviously it could face one of 2 ways, and that would not be good if I put it on backwards. Actually, I just pulled up a photograph of a aftermarket recoil assembly on Google, and I can clearly see the way that that's supposed to go. The loop faces towards the left, and that plastic pin, of course, rides inside there. Alright, so I went and looked at my earlier disassembly video and saw that I had noticed that this turned about 270 degrees right after the point where the rope had just come through this hole. So basically 3/4 of a turn, and I'm noticing right now the end of the notch where the rope is hooked is right up here. So I think it's going to be safe to say that if I just turn this around so that the notch comes around and then pop the rope out of the notch and run it through the hole, that should be about the right amount of preload, theoretically speaking. And then to test it, you just pull it, and if you've got the clip on correctly, what happens is the clip will act to push that little pawl out. See how it's coming out right there? And that's what allows that to engage next piece in the puzzle. Next we install this recoil assembly, this part facing down, this open part with the spring exposed facing up. Just drops on like that, and then this plastic piece with these 2 lugs facing up, this part facing down, so that has to drop in like so. That's it. Then this washer, and then this locking screw, but I'm going to put a little bit of Loctite on there. And once it's back together, when it's off of the unit, it just this just freewheels. But once it's on here and it's captive to the actual end of the crankshaft, you can actually feel that it will build up tension. So that is that. So we're going to call that a wrap. I hope this was helpful to anybody who is dealing with trying to repair their recoil assembly on their Stihl Easy Start style of trimmer. Thanks for watching. Take care.